So we are back at the Orange City Police Department in Orange City, Florida. And whether or not you've kept up with this months-long ongoing saga, you will need to see this video. You don't need to know the backstory for this particular video, because this would be unbelievable if it was my first visit here. But I would check out the links and the playlist in the description if you haven't already seen all of it, because it's pretty nutty. I will give you a very brief rundown of why I'm here today, which is, again, to try to speak to the chief, Wayne Miller. But if you already know this entire saga like the back of your hand, here's a timestamp for you. But this video is going to be a doozy. You've seen recently several times I've come to this department, and I haven't shown you every time, so I've been here many more times than you've seen in an attempt to speak to Chief Wayne Miller, so he could clarify some things that don't make any damn sense and don't seem to be true in an email that he sent to me. He sent me this email in the closing of an internal investigation into an officer for allegedly misusing a department database to obtain my personal information, which was then disseminated online to the public, along with some false and angry things. Now, that email, all the details about the IA, all of this stuff are in these previous videos and those links. This chief has absolutely refused to ever speak to me. Reliable sources have claimed that he has openly said that he will never take seriously a complaint that comes from a person with a camera. Two sources from within this department have confirmed that. This all stems from an incident in August of 2023, where I was pulled over by two officers, Shadrach King and former officer Kyle Walker, after leaving a store. That store had called police to report that an argument had taken place. It was over with. Both people had left. I was allegedly one of those people. The reality, there was no argument. There was just a very weird, crazy guy, and I recorded him before I left. Police never saw me on the property and pulled me over a short distance away. At the time that they stopped me, which this is also all on video, they said that all they knew at that time was there was a report of an argument, and they said they had no idea what happened. Not only that, but they had nobody at the store or going to the store to try to figure out the other side of what happened, just talking to me, and I told them that nothing happened. To my surprise, my identification was then demanded of me, and I would be detained if I didn't provide it. They again confirmed that no crime had been committed that they know of, and when I told them, well, they would need a crime to demand my identification because of, the Fourth Amendment, they became angry and intent on violating my rights. From that point on, I tried to speak to those officers and administration to make sure that they do understand the Fourth Amendment and know what is required before they can demand ID from somebody under the threat of detention and or arrest. But nobody was having it, so I had to file a complaint. Wayne Miller eventually closed out that complaint, and he made no mention or acknowledgement of the Fourth Amendment rights violation or the fact that my identification was demanded of me under threat, and I found that troubling since it was the main point of the complaint. From that point, I attempted to speak to him. He refused, only off camera in his office behind closed doors. That's it. He won't talk to me in a public place or on camera, which seems super shady to me. But from that point on, I have tried to ask him one question, without cop-splaining, without dancing around it. Just answer the question, what is required in the state of Florida for law enforcement to demand identification from a citizen? Well, he would never answer the question. Furthermore, another complaint was issued, city manager was involved, and through all of this, nobody would even acknowledge that that happened. They wouldn't even acknowledge that they threatened me if I didn't ID myself. They would talk about everything but that, clearly avoiding it. So on this date, I came to the PD again to try to talk to him if I can. I was told he's not there, he's at a meeting. I hung out for a few minutes, and then he and his whole brigade walked up on me. And he, for some reason, made the choice, finally, to speak to me. And I actually foolishly thought that we were making progress. Knowing that he will run away, I was going very delicate with the conversation initially, but you won't believe what he and Lieutenant Ward had to say about your Fourth Amendment and what's required to ID somebody. And they knowingly said these things on video. I was flabbergasted, and you know that's serious because I never used the word flabbergasted. So watch this video And what's going to appear to be a potentially progressive, casual conversation is going to go south pretty quick, as it usually does with this chief when reality strikes, when he realizes he is not in control, he's not in control of the conversation, and when he's being called out on avoiding things and dancing around things. This is what he does. He just always refuses to do it on camera. And Wayne, I know you're watching. No, this is not about clicks and views like you say. This is about education, awareness, accountability, and transparency. People have to see how things really work. And other agencies maybe can get education from things like this in seeing how not to act and what not to do. That's, that was one of the things here. I don't know. I don't think Miller's a huge, whoa, look at this. I walked right into the hornet's nest. Hey, Chief.
How are you?
Good, how you doing?
Not too bad. Fixing to get dumped on.
Well, yeah, we are. I've been trying to get with you just to ask a question.
I know, you got my schedule, right?
So that's Wayne Miller, and he's immediately set the tone. I can tell how he's going to be with that passive-aggressive, kind of smart-ass. I tell him I've been trying to get a hold of him. He says, I know, you got my schedule, right? He says that because he knows that I've put in public records requests for his schedule, because every time I come in to try to talk to him, he seems, or he's said to be busy or not there. Many of these times I know that not to be true, just avoiding me. Now I'm going to try not to interrupt anymore here. I'm going to try. So listen carefully and watch for all the times that he avoids the question or gives a non-answer, tries to divert, redirect, control the conversation as I keep trying to lead back in, allowing him to go on with his cop-splaining and nonsense a little bit until I finally have to be point blank. Oh, he also tries to toot his own horn about how accountable he is and how big of a priority accountability is to him within this department. Because, yeah, we've definitely seen proof of that in his actions so far, right? All right, I'm shutting up now. Check it out. To clarify something. Yeah.
Sure.
In that response on that complaint, I'm just looking for clarity on a couple of things, right? Everything I've done here, I know you've not felt that way, but it has been legitimate.
What made you say I haven't felt that way?
Maybe you haven't felt. Some people have said something, so allegedly, or maybe, who knows?
Don't believe everything you hear,
Right, I know,
but anyway,
but I haven't been able to talk to you.
What's the question?
A couple of the things I was able to
Is
talk...
this on the...
King.
On the David?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was able to have a conversation with King, too. We had a good conversation.
Yeah.
Just in your response to it, it said that you had become aware shortly after his David inquiry.
Right,
And you told him, hey, we can't do this. These things don't rise to a criminal level, and this and that. And he immediately ceased.
Right.
But then it was a month later that the same thing apparently happened, was because I saw your letter to Stephen Sanders.
Right.
And the same thing played out
I only met with him once.
Later.
He had already, you guys didn't, I wasn't aware of the complaint until December, I think it was.
Okay.
So he had already ran, I think, yourself and Sanders.
In September, yeah.
Right, and so it was well after both of those instances that I met with him on a variety of things. And once I found that out, I was like, yeah, you're not doing any type of charges. Cease any of that activity.
Yeah.
So it was only one time. It may have, I get what you're saying, it may have looked like...
That's what it sounded like.
Well, because in Stephen's letters, I'm addressing his complaint.
Right, yeah.
And in yours, I'm addressing that one. But no, I only met with him one time. And it was after both of those. And you can see the times, he only ran it one day each. So.
And that's why I'm looking for clarity, because like King, he said that you got with him in September at some point.
I don't recall.
So that didn't make sense, because then in October it happened again.
Correct.
It didn't make,
well, I can tell you this,
make any sense.
Matt, if he or any officer, did something that I said not to do after I told them that,
they're
going to be in another internal. I can tell you that for discipline.
Right? Yeah, and
no, I didn't meet with him. I don't think it was in September, because it was well after. I didn't know y'all's complaint until December.
Yeah. I don't think I filed it until, I think it was December 11th. Or something like that.
And that's when I became aware of it.
Okay, I said I would try not to interrupt, but I have to real quick. Like everything else that comes from him, this doesn't make any damn sense. His email says that shortly after the query date, which was September 10th, that King accessed my information in that database. He became aware of King's alleged intentions to file criminal charges. But like we said, there was no criminal activity. Not the point right now. Shortly after the date, and speaking with King, he also said that Miller got with him definitely in September, a short time after he pulled up my information in the database, which matches what Miller said in the email. Now Miller's saying not until after the complaint, sometime in December. So by saying that, he's saying that King pulled up my information allegedly to file charges and then just sat on it for like 3 months and still hadn't done it by the time Miller became aware because of my complaint? Let me know what you think, but this doesn't make any damn sense to me.
Okay. So well, I kind of did one whole internal because it dealt to me with the same thing, running both of them.
Yeah.
But I only met with him one time and told him, to don't do that.
So that
and we're not going to be going
things.
on the charge route.
Right. Yeah.
Because I also been told that, you guys are saying that you're criminals or something. I've never said.
Well, that wasn't.
Or whatever, but
somebody else. But
yeah. And I get it. I get on y'all's side about stalking and harassment that it's quite clear, but in King's mind it wasn't.
Yeah.
But once I found out, I was like, we're not doing charges. It doesn't rise to that level, and we're not going to do that. And then I wanted to see if he improperly used the system, and I didn't feel like he did, based on the information that he had.
Right.
He says he felt. I don't know if he told you that when you talked to him.
He did, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't personally believe that he was. Right. He used it to file charges, or he used David to file. I didn't believe that.
Oh no, well,
because nothing rose to a criminal level. It just sounded ridiculous. And then with everything else,
but that's what you're saying. In his mind, he thought it did. He thought he was being harassed and stalked. I totally get it.
Yeah.
We're in a uniform. You guys can follow us around and stuff.
Yeah.
But you got to look at it as there's officers all around the country just getting ambushed and shot and killed for no reason. So when someone follows you around, when we put this uniform on, we don't qualify for the same rights as a regular citizen.
Right, yeah.
But he felt he was really being harassed and or stalked.
Yeah.
He now knows that he was not. And
right.
Y'all's activity, it can occur.
We had a conversation because I felt the same way because he had been following me around, and I was expecting retaliation or something. What's going on? But we talked about that, and
well, I'm glad if you guys did talk.
Yeah, we did, and I was after all this, all I wanted was from day one. All I wanted was a conversation because that one day that happened. Oh, this is shitstorm 9-10 months now, all because that one thing. I just wanted to have a conversation with somebody, just be like, hey, we can't do that.
No, I understand where you're coming from.
King just, now finally he said, you legally you didn't have to ID. Now,
you're going to the Walmart incident.
Right, that because that's where it stemmed.
No.
Everything stemmed from that point, and so everything came because of that.
But as I've mentioned, I'm not sure it was you, Matt, maybe it was some of the others or whatever. I am, if my people do anything wrong, I'm going to hold them accountable. I can tell you that. I do not want any bad cops, any dirty cops. I'm not going to have it.
We have the same goal.
You can look up my record. I'm telling you, I have suspended officers. I've terminated officers. I have arrested officers.
Yeah.
I don't need it in my shop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I mean, if someone makes an error, we address it according to.
There are mistakes. Mistakes happen.
I mean, everybody can make
human.
mistakes. They're
right.
like, listen, hey, don't do that. Learn from it.
Right.
If it's a bad one, I'm telling you, and look up the name. What was that guy's name? Fancher. It's a public record.
That one was here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I arrested him.
Yeah,
I don't need it. You start doing something that
vaguely
criminal, bye. I don't need you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't want to cover anything up. I want my people to treat everybody with respect. And so I'm glad we have
the same goal. I know some people think. Some people here think I'm a jerk now, but it all stemmed from just standing up for what I saw as right, all right. It was all up to Kyle. Started it.
I was just going to say, and I'm not, and I know you're running and stuff.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, he's at another agency or whatever. He's no longer here. Let me just say that.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
But I can tell you, this is in my heart what I feel, and I don't care if you post it or not. I think that if Walker, he was a little bit rude to you, on that whole thing and jumped right in over King, who stopped you for a legitimate purpose.
Yeah.
He had a legitimate purpose to stop you based on the call. I understand you're
everything
saying
was calm and casual,
verbal, but
so far
King didn't know that. He's hearing, and that was all in my report.
Right.
But I think it was calm and casual, and I think he would have came to the same conclusion.
Until
hey, they don't want you there anymore. But Walker came up, and I think he added a little bit of fuel to it, and I'm sorry, that was wrong.
Yeah.
But
he's
no longer here.
The attitude, that was one thing. I was surprised to hear he was so new, because he had the attitude of a burnt out, years-long cop. I was surprised he was only there a few months at that point.
Yeah.
But when he barked,
give
me your ID right now, or we're going to detain you. I was like, hey, you don't have a suspicion of a crime or anything. You
can say things always differently, right?
You can't do
just
that,
a matter of
right?
listen.
And he said, no, right now we're going to detain you. We're not. I was like, you can't demand ID. For one, he had the attitude, he barked it, but he's demanding it, or he's going to detain me if he doesn't get it.
Right.
And I tried to tell him you can't do that. King says after the fact that he did get with Kyle and told him, hey, you can't do that. But in that moment, he went along with it.
Yeah.
So from my view, it's both of them doing it, right? And I just wanted to bring that to someone's attention, that happens and it can't happen. And that was my goal in the beginning. Hey, maybe get with this guy. Maybe he doesn't know. Maybe he is a bully. Maybe he doesn't care. Just tell him you can't do this. You have to have, just because you got a call that there was an argument, and at the time they're saying,
well, I'm not going to dispute the call, because I know about the call, and I already cleared it. But I agree with you that whole situation could have been handled differently. That perhaps you would have been satisfied with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that
aside from that,
because King had a right to stop you based on him pulling in and based on the call, and they're pointing at you leaving and stuff.
Right.
He saw you on property. I know you may not agree with that.
Well,
but that's his testimony, and it's what he swore to.
We talked about that too. I wasn't on the property, but we talked about that.
But anyway, so the stop, legitimate, had a right to figure out what was going on. They didn't know what was happening at Walmart at the time. I know what it says in the CAD call, but they're not reading that stuff.
So that part, yep,
so I get it.
When we got to the demanding ID part, that's what was, because they at the same time Kyle's demanding ID, King is saying, we don't know what happened, man. I don't know if it was an argument or what. Well, that's what you have to determine before you can demand ID.
And I'm sure any reasonable person.
Yeah, any reasonable person would be like, hey, violate my rights. That's fine. I get it. My rights don't mean anything. Do what you got to do, officer. After all, I'm here to serve you, not the other way around. This guy is making more excuses and doing more dancing around than I've seen in a while.
You know, you were on the job. Be like, you're right. We're just trying to figure out what's going on. We got a call that this was going on. We're trying to figure it out. If it's nothing to do with you and you're clear, I'm going back to work. Have a nice day, and you move on. It's a matter of how you treat people. And again, I think there was a little bit of fuel added to that. That's my terminology from Officer Walker at the time, and it didn't need to have that outcome. So.
Right, and this isn't a trick, but we went around it a little bit, but you agree that in that scenario, they can't demand ID.
No, I agree. No, I don't agree with you. They had a right to ask you for your ID in that situation.
But what crime had committed though?
I've already cleared it.
What crime had been committed?
We don't know what crime had been committed. You don't know what crime. It could have been a stabbing, a disturbance. They said people are still on here.
It could have been a mass murder.
Right? And in reality, do I even need to ask for your ID? I mean, you can run people's tags.
You can ask for anybody.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
But to demand it,
you
said it could have been all of those things.
Yeah.
But don't you have to suspect or know that it is those things before you demand the ID?
I hear you. And I'm not going to dispute that. That is long done. That officer's no longer even here.
Right, but just in general, the one question that I asked you at the event that time, I just said, what is
a little hard for me to try to focus on what you're saying.
No, I get it. I just was trying to talk to you somewhere, right?
Yeah,
so,
and I did speak. I think you had left. I spoke to everybody that night after I was done doing my civic duties, if you will.
Right.
But I didn't have time at that particular.
Yeah, and that's fine. But I was just trying to ask you what's required in the state of Florida to demand ID from somebody.
You know as well as I, and they had rights to ask for your ID.
So even though they didn't have suspicion of a crime, they had the right to demand my ID? Because you just said they didn't have suspicion of a crime.
I answered your other question. I'm not going to.
That's the only question.
No, you asked me another question.
No. This is that's what I said. That's where it all stemmed from. It stemmed from this one question.
It's closed. I exonerated it.
It's closed because you're avoiding it and you're still ignoring it. It's that one thing.
I'm not ignoring you.
You know.
I'm not ignoring you.
You know that they can't do that.
The officer in that case.
King admitted they can't do that.
Well, King can admit all he wants. I'm the one who had it investigated.
But
I make the final decision.
But you're the chief.
That's my decision.
Do you understand the Fourth Amendment?
Totally. I understand totally.
So then, what is required in the state of Florida to demand ID from somebody?
All right, man.
You got to be kidding me! I thought we were going to make progress.
I answered your one question initially.
No, that's the one question I've been asking you for almost 10 months now, and you still won't answer it. Holy sh!
Steve, listen, I know you're videoing, but listen, when someone doesn't agree with you, sometimes you gotta look at the opposite side.
No, but it's not a matter of agreeing, it's a matter of the law and the Fourth Amendment.
Yeah, Terry says you can stop whether what you suspect, about to, did, or has, right?
No, I'm talking about demanding ID.
Yeah, that's for Terry,
No,
right?
you must have suspicion of a crime to demand ID.
Yeah. And plus, they also advise you...
But there was no suspicion of a crime.
They also advise you that there was an infraction, right?
No infraction.
It's on the video.
Let me explain real quick what this goofball is going on about. He's doing what any tyrant would do when they've been pinned down and called out on a mistake or a rights violation. They try to sidestep and make things up. And he's just repeating the words of Kyle Walker from the initial incident. And you heard Kyle's former chief doesn't speak very highly of Kyle. But Lieutenant Ward here now is saying, hey, Kyle's word's gold. That day, after my Fourth Amendment rights had already been violated, and they made it clear that they had every right to identify me because they had received a call, and I called them out that it's a rights violation, Kyle started to worry, like, uh-oh, I screwed up and this guy knows it. Either that or he's like, uh-oh, I bullied the wrong person. So he pointed to my windshield and he said, and you have tint. For one, at this point, it is completely irrelevant. You can't even bring it up because it's over with, and there is no evidence that there was tint. No evidence there was an infraction. This is something Kyle tried to make up after the fact because he effed up. He pointed to the windshield, and he's referring to the tint, the windshield strip, which has to be above the AS1 line, which it was. So there goes that, Ward. Aside from that, even if it was, I have a tint exemption, so it wouldn't matter. Now, if I had been stopped for my windshield tint below the AS1 line, because that's what they thought, and then they walk up to the car and see that they're wrong, legally, the stop ends right there because the probable cause is gone. Or the moment they find out you have an exemption, gone. No more PC. This would happen before a time that you would be required to identify yourself. So Ward is grasping at straws because he's not big enough to admit it, but he knows what we all know. My rights were violated. And after that, to me, he's no better than Kyle. Typical blue line gang nonsense. There's no infraction.
Hold on, there was
There is no infraction.
There was an infraction on the video. Go watch the video again.
Kyle made an incorrect claim
Right. Go watch
of
the video
tint
again.
for which I have a permit for. So that's invalid.
Yeah,
so
hold on. They don't know that.
No,
So they
doesn't
consider-
matter. He made that up after the fact.
Yep, nope,
He made that
nope.
up. You're
You gotta
dancing
clear it all up at one
around
time
that.
thing.
You're dancing around that for the
You
Fourth
do it.
Amendment violation. That's
Look,
what
Steve,
you're doing.
I mean, that's you.
That's
Man.
what you're doing, man.
No.
King, I will say Shadrach King is
not
bigger
gonna say
than anybody here so far.
I'm not gonna-
Even
I'll have
though
a
he
normal
was one of the
conversation without
initial
that.
ones.
See you, man.
Unbelievable. I'm going back inside for a minute just with the intention to pass a message along to Wayne that he's a disappointment. I know he won't care, but I'd like to let him know. Feel free to let him know if you agree with me or not. When I go in there, though, he's actually back there talking about the incident to the desk clerk who doesn't realize I've come in. Let's listen close, see if we can pick up any of it. I'm just now realizing what's going on.
Hey,
Is Miller standing right there?
what?
Miller, is he standing right there?
Yeah, nope, he's not.
Are you tricking me?
No, I'm not.
He actually just talked to me and I thought we were going to get somewhere. But can you just relay a message to him? Maybe he can hear me. Maybe he is around the corner still. I don't know. I believe that he probably is. He's right there. You don't have a good poker face.
And I said like that, and he was gone, so I don't know where
He's right there. I would just wanted to pass along to Miller that I'm very disappointed in him. No, seriously. And you, man. Come on, dude. We're playing these games because a cop here, a former cop here, made he screwed up. He's not even a cop here anymore. He screwed up, right? Everybody here knows he did not have the lawful right to demand identification in that scenario. You must have reasonable suspicion of a crime that has been committed or is about to be committed. Or did, right. So what crime was committed? The report of an argument is not a crime.
No.
You must determine first if a crime was committed.
I want to say one thing because I know you're on camera.
I am.
You're on cameras. But this is the thing. If I go to Walmart, right?
Right.
And it was reported it was a disturbance. That alone is not. But when you have the LP screaming and pointing in that car and you go to see, we don't know if it got physical.
Right.
You don't, which would have been a battery.
Right.
Conduct, maybe a stabbing.
100%.
maybe something else.
Could have been a murder.
So you can stop and detain, get ID, depending, right? Depending on the totality of the circumstances. Totality. Plus the alleged infraction.
No, that's off the table. That's for one he was wrong. For one he was wrong. And two, you're wrong.
I'm going to demand ID. If that individual doesn't give me
No.
their ID,
No.
I ask for their name.
No.
If they don't give me their name, then I'm going to write them a citation plus take them to jail.
Invalid. Where is the evidence that there was an infraction?
If I see
No, that day, you're saying there was an infraction.
I'm allowed to stop someone with you.
Where is the evidence there was an infraction?
When I see someone with dark windows, am I allowed to stop them? Yes or no?
Until the second you see that you were wrong, and then it's over. You have no more probable cause.
Yeah, but I stopped them, and I get their ID, and then I can test it. Right? Yes?
No.
Yes.
No. If you walk up and...
Anyway, is it-
Well, he was wrong, right? He's a bully. He's a tyrant. He's a...
I'm not going to agree.
Right, but you're wrong. You must... Listen, this is troubling that you don't know this. You must have reasonable suspicion that a crime has been committed. Look at this. Unbelievable. Administration of this department literally thinks that, and walking away, I'm trying to educate them. I know they can hear me in here right now, which is why I'm going to continue to do this. Administration at this department literally thinks that if they get a call for an argument, they can stop you, demand your identification under threat of arrest because a crime might have happened. They clearly don't understand that before they can demand your identification, they have to verify whether or not a crime did happen. If it did, absolutely. Then they can demand your ID, or if they suspect that they did. But as the police are telling you, as they're demanding your ID or they're going to detain you, and at the same time they're saying, we have no idea what happened. That means they have no idea if a crime had been committed. Therefore, they cannot demand your identification. Shadrach King, I'm going to shout out. Yeah, I never thought I'd say this, and nobody watching this ever thought I'd say this. I'm going to give a shout out to Shadrach King for being the only one in this department, including administration and the chief, to admit that that was wrong, that was a rights violation. Everybody giving, I know he's done a lot of shit, and he's earned a lot of hate. I give him credit for that, because look what we've seen here. Look at the display from this chief and this administration. This is a disgrace. Super, super unfortunate. That's what they do. That's what they do. When you've got them, they run away. When they cannot honestly answer the question without making them look bad or tarnishing their image, they run away. You just saw examples of it here. Absolute disgrace. That's what they do. That's when the conversation is over. Look how much talking both of them did, until you try to pin them down where they know they did wrong. Because many departments, like we're seeing this example here with Orange City, will never admit wrongdoing. Public servants serving the public, acting like that. Absolute disgrace. Dude, you're wrong, and that's why... Listen to me, man. You have a lot to say until you're pinned down, and that's when you walk away.
No, because you don't
Yes,
give nobody a chance to see you still talking.
the chief did it too. Because when I talk, you run away. When I talk, you run away.
I'll let you come inside and talk to me. A normal conversation.
When I talk, you run away. You don't want to hear it.
No, because you say the same thing over and over.
Yeah, I say the same thing over and over because you don't understand the Fourth Amendment. You don't understand what's required to ID somebody. You're wrong, and this is why you're running away again. You and your chief. Miranda yet?
Huh?
Did you look up Miranda yet? I mean Terry. Hey, why'd you turn off your Facebook comments? In fairness, Miranda too. If they're training Miranda and the way that Kyle used it, that's one they definitely got to look up too. My mistake, I meant to say Terry. He knows what I meant. Obviously, he knew what I meant. A few days after we last spoke, I'm here doing something else when I see Miller walking up to the PD with Lieutenant El Shami. What's up? We clarified Terry v. Ohio yet? No? Don't care? Don't care. So you didn't look up Terry v. Ohio yet? You were spouting it incorrectly. Didn't look it up. So the chief has avoided that question for almost a year. What's required to demand ID from somebody? Danced all around it, ignored it. And I thought that was just because he doesn't want to admit to what's clearly on video. But now with the things he's saying, and Lieutenant Ward, who oversees training, I have a genuine concern they might not know, which would explain why new cops are so quick to violate rights. So I need to see if people below admin at least know. Just what is required to demand ID from a person? Without any bullshit, without anything,
What is required?
Yeah, what for you to demand ID? Like, let's say you want my ID, you can ask for it all day long, but what's required? If you're going to demand it, what do you have to have? It's not a trick question.
No, I know. I mean, as far as I have to have probable cause for, that a crime is, that you've committed a crime.
Could you say, like, I might have committed some random crime, you have no idea what, or would it have to be a specific crime?
I mean, obviously it would have to be something specific.
Right, yeah.
So
you would have to, for example, you would have to suspect me or the person of burglary.
Sure.
Not just, you might have done something, or we got a call, somebody's suspicious in the area, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously I wouldn't be detaining or taking your ID if
I get
there was no crime.
I get it, and I appreciate hearing that, but that's a simple thing. It's a simple, basic thing. For some reason, I don't know. I know you're not going to say anything, but the administration here doesn't understand that. I mean, this is a genuine thing. Yesterday, Ward, he was yelling at me, and I was genuinely concerned. I said, holy shit, dude, he's telling me Terry v. Ohio. I'm like, yes, go read Terry v. Ohio. It defines it. It really does define it. And I wasn't trying to be a jerk. If he genuinely thinks the stuff that he was saying yesterday, he's got to look that up. He's in charge of training, right? Yeah. Because he was spouting, Terry v. Ohio says that you can do it. I was like, no, Terry v. Ohio says you can't do it. You have to have suspicion of a specific crime. So my reason in asking you, I think you know that, but I would like to talk to people outside of administration here to make sure I get that answer. I know admin here hates me, and it's just because, they don't think it's a big deal. So what? Like Chief said the other day, just give me your ID and be done with it. If nothing went on, yeah, I get that, and you hear that all the time. But we have a Constitution for a reason. We have a Fourth Amendment for a reason. I've given you credit. I said it in a video that's going to come out, but I wanted to say it to you in person. I'm giving you credit. I talked to some administration here the other day. Holy shit, they blew my mind. You are bigger than any administration here, including your chief. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. You don't have to say anything to that. I can't get them to understand what Terry v. Ohio is. The training lieutenant was spouting Terry v. Ohio, but incorrectly. You're the only one. Like I told you before, I appreciate what we talked about, and I appreciate you acknowledge that, because that's all that I was ever looking for. And when Chief actually talked to me, and I thought it was because we talked. So I thought we were going to be on the same page, but it went south pretty quick, and they still refuse. So you're the only one. I told them the other day, King is bigger than any of you. I don't know if they think I'm looking for a lawsuit or whatever, so I'm trying to be like, haha, I got you, you said it. I mean, I don't need that. I don't need it. If I wanted that, I have what I need, but that's not my goal, So just the conversation like we had,
right? That
Wayne Miller, still not big enough to have, apparently. So I just wanted to tell you, I yelled that to them the other day. I was like, unbelievable, man. Some people probably hate me, because I said it, because I'm like, Shadrach King, bigger than any of you in here. Be damned, shit happened. Obviously, we talked about it. It has happened. But like I told you before, I always give credit where it's due. And we did have a talk. You did acknowledge some things. And I told the chief that, too. He said, he can say whatever he wants, but I'm the one that investigated it. So that pissed him off when I said that, I guess. And maybe if the training, maybe that's where Kyle got it. After I hear what I heard the other day, he's in charge of training. Maybe that's where Kyle got it. It's just concerning because it comes from a training coordinator. You're the lieutenant in charge of training. And what he's saying is what Kyle did is perfectly fine. That's what he's saying. And he says Terry v. Ohio defines that. Read it. Go read it. No, it doesn't. It defines that it's not okay. Just read it. Don't take my word. Read the damn thing. Well, I know I speak for more than just myself when I say we're disappointed in you, Wayne Miller. But I also know that you don't care. I've said 100 times that sources have said that Miller has claimed that he won't take seriously anything that comes from a person with a camera. Now that's alleged, but recently two different people from within his department, has said he's fairly open about just that, behind closed doors. As it relates to the questions I tried to ask him about the internal investigation, because things that he had said just don't make sense, well, his clarifications just made it make less sense. And generally, the truth isn't so confusing. When it comes to the Fourth Amendment, if Miller and Ward really believe the things that they're saying, or in Miller's case, he's not saying anything, he's just dancing around it and avoiding it, but his lieutenant in charge of training says some pretty concerning things, and he can't allow himself to consider the possibility that he's mistaken. Are we beating a dead horse? Yeah, absolutely. But is there a reason for it? 100%. We're going to have to wait for the public records on this investigation to come in so we can try to piece it together ourselves. And I'm glad to see that at least some officers there have better knowledge than those who train them. But there's a lot more to get into. Make sure you check out my other videos and some links provided to you. Hit the comments and let me know what you think of all of this. And if you keep coming back but haven't yet done it, hit the subscribe button too. Also, let me know what you think about these longer form videos. I know my opinion, but I want to hear yours. So check out some other crazy stuff while you stay tuned for some more crazy stuff.